Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Have you gotten to a point in your life where you look at it and just like, this it? Is there anything more going on? Can I achieve anything further? Are you feeling not fulfilled? Well, we're going to talk about that, especially if you're a guy. And he's a guy that helps guys, girls, everybody. But specifically, if you're a guy and you're in that position right now, just wondering what is the purpose of life? He's an amazing life coach, author, speaker. He's back with us. Dr. Bary Fleet is on the program. Hi, Bary. How you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How are you this afternoon?
You're reading my mind. And here's the thing. Just a second ago, you said, yeah, let's talk about this. And you said, have you ever looked at what is the purpose of life? I am not kidding you when I tell you that I was at the gym today and I was listening to a song, and seconds before we got together, the song was still playing in my head. And you know what the song was? George Harrison's What Is Life? And it's exactly what you were saying, like that. What is life? And it's, different message in that song, but everybody pulls whatever they want from music.
Sure.
But I saw it on the playlist. I'm on the treadmill. I'm like, yeah, let me play that. I haven't heard it in a while. What is life? I think a lot of us sometimes, ask that. What is this all there is to life? Have you ever?
I think it's great if we get to the point of asking that question.
Fair enough.
Because I think there are lots of us that are just kind of drifting through and not even asking the question. I think asking the question becomes a trigger for looking for something more.
Do you think there's a reason why we start asking that question? We just feel unfulfilled. We're bored. What brings that on? What do you think?
So for me, I think, so my book is Your Inner Magnificence. And I think that there is a magnificence in each one of us that wants us to have the life of our dreams.
Yep.
And I think that voice gets silenced, it gets muffled, it gets covered over. But periodically, I think it comes out in ways that say, hey, is this going to be okay for the rest of your life? Is you going to tolerate this? I've got a men's group that I coordinate, and Sunday night we were talking, and one of the questions for thought was, what is it that you're no longer willing to tolerate? Either in yourself, your own behaviors, or situations, circumstances in your life, but you've kind of been putting up with it and putting up with it and putting up with it. And the challenge for our group this week is, so what is it that you're no longer willing to put up with? Because it's sucking life out of you.
Yeah. I think that's also, we may have touched upon this, boundaries in your life, those things that are, sucking things out of you.
Yeah. What I think is that the purpose of life, in a word, is growth. Expansion. We come into the world as babies and we grow in every way. But then there comes a point at which some of our growth stops. Physically it stops. I think mentally we stop growing. I know too many people that haven't picked up a book since they graduated from college, and maybe didn't pick up much of a book then. But growing mentally, growing spiritually, growing in our relationships, I think we've lost a sense of directedness and what will make me a better person today than I was yesterday. And whether it's, I'm not going to tolerate my laziness anymore, and I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week or 5 days a week or whatever, but to set a goal and say, I'm not willing to do this anymore. I'm not willing to get on the scale and see that number, or look down and see that I've let my belt out one more notch. I think there are triggers, and I think, as you said, asking the question, "Is this all there is?" can be a trigger to making a decision to do something.
I think also we come to that point when we're forced to. So a life change, whatever that might be, where now it's in your face, like things have changed, or yeah, the water of your life has been all churned up for a moment, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I never looked at it that way, or I've been put up with that. I didn't even realize I was doing that. Wow, that, or maybe you did realize it, but you didn't realize the the impact on
Right.
you until you needed to at that point.
And I think what happens is we, like I say, we grow to a point, and then there comes a point at which we either stagnate or we start to regress. We become smaller versions of ourselves instead of bigger versions of ourselves. Um, and one of the things I think happen, you mentioned sometimes something happens to us and life gets all jumbled up.
Hmm.
I think the risk is when that happens, we start looking back and trying to figure out how do we put it back together. But the reference point is from the past
Right.
rather than what's what's possibility out in front of me. I know a lot of times couples will come to me, and oftentimes there's been infidelity, and their goal is to put their marriage back together. And I say to them, you can't. It's your marriage is over as you knew it. It's done. The question becomes, do you want to build a new marriage with this person with whom you have lots of history? Or do you want to just start over with somebody with no history? But you can't look at the past and try to recreate that because it's done. It's over.
Yeah. Very much so. By the way, you mentioned that you talk and work with couples. In what capacity is that? You coach the couples that are going through some challenges?
I do. I
Okay.
do. I do work with couples um, to build relationships that are healthier.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's a big one. Once the trust is breached in any relationship, could even be a friendship. It's there's a change there. There's definitely a
Absolutely.
change. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And that's important to talk about. What would it take? Is it going to be possible? Can you ever trust that person again? And it's a time for everybody, for both parties to become brutally honest with themselves about trust. Can so I've been wronged, I've been betrayed, whatever. Can I trust this person? What will it take? What are the circumstances that will have to be there for me to trust them again? And then the other side of that is, let's say I'm the betrayer. What's the behavior that I'm willing to commit um, to prove my trustworthiness? Because talking about tolerating, there comes a point at which, I can't undo what I did in the past.
Yep.
Um, and if you're going to keep beating me up with it, I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life being beaten up with something that I'm truly sorry for, but I can't undo. So it's both parties have to commit to doing some pretty heavy duty stuff there.
That's a tough one. What is your what do you what's your findings on that when it is that's the situation we're talking about? More times than not, what happens?
Um, it depends on the couple.
Sure.
It depends on the individuals. Um, Sometimes people are committed enough to their own growth that they're willing to write a new script together and realize we're not starting. Yes, we have a history and parts of it have been pretty rocky, but we're starting today to build a new history. And that takes quite a commitment on the part of both parties. But if both parties are willing to grow, then I see some great things that happen. But sometimes one person will get stuck in that place of I'll never be able to trust him again. I'll never be able to trust her again.
Sure.
And at that point, um, I think that the growth part is to be honest and say that. And if you're never going to trust me again, then what's the point in us moving forward?
100%. It's a yeah. And that's a tough one. It really
It
is.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I've
Um,
had been through a lot, even recently with a really good friend that breached some major trust and rectified the situation, remedied it. But it's still in my mind, the friend is on probation,
yes.
at this point. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. I'm going to be definitely guarded. And
Right.
the friend said they were sorry, they shouldn't have done it. Um, it is what it is. So it's there's a big history there, and I like to say forgive and forget. I forgive, don't forget.
We never forget.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lie we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
We're not going to forget it.
No.
Um, it's going to be a part. It's going to be woven into the fabric of whatever the relationship is going forward.
Sure. Sure. It
Uh,
just takes it's almost as if it's a rebirth of the relationship. It's a new form of the relationship because got a different shape. It's got a different,
right.
now it's different. And
It
maybe
is.
that's for the better. I don't know. You never know. You never know why things happen.
Well, but I think that's an important question to ask: is why did this happen? Because there's something. So with the betrayal of trust, there's something that triggered that, and I think that what triggered it is that desire on the individual to grow, but they didn't choose the right methodology. They chose a methodology that was destructive rather than constructive.
I would I would agree with that. When you take a step back and look at it, and it's also it always takes two. So, maybe in my situation, the individual thought that they could get away with it or that it wouldn't be so impactful. Hey, so it's not going to be that bad. And I can grow for whatever reason, whatever way. Just do it. And that's, maybe that's on me for being too trusting. I don't know. Yeah,
You
I
know,
wondered.
I mean, I don't know enough about the specifics, but
Sure.
but when I find out that people have been unfaithful in a relationship, um, I talk about there's always one of two reasons that somebody's been unfaithful. It's either to keep the marriage together or to break the marriage up.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um, but the unfaithfulness is about getting an unmet need met. Um, and maybe it's a way of waving a flag and saying, "Hey, I'm over here. I'm feeling all neglected, and I don't want that feeling. And here's somebody that's offering me attention that I'm not getting in my primary relationship. And it's and going outside the relationship is one way of getting that need met. Pretty destructive, pretty heavy consequences. But
Yes.
if you can look and say, what is it that is tempting me to do this, and then talk about that in the relationship. I had a client not long ago whose um, sex life in the marriage has really deteriorated, and he had the courage to say to his wife, she's not tonight, I've got a headache, kind of thing. And he said, would you rather I just go to a prostitute and get this part of my life taken care of, and then we can.
Mm.
And she was horrified that would happen, but it was an honest conversation because he's wanting to keep he's not wanting to lose the marriage, but neither is he wanting to be in a sexless relationship.
Well, you look at things like that. There, there, there are things that need to be in a relationship. So if there's something major, major missing from the relationship in this example, I'm not saying they're right at all. But that's a reason why the relationship isn't the way it's supposed to be. When things are pretty much in the relationship, when for the most part, and it's always,
Yeah,
relationships are like that.
yeah,
When when it's pretty much there, but somebody is not feeling the connection that they expect, and that's on them. That's what they're feeling. I believe many times it's their problem. They have issues from the past, maybe their childhood, that haven't been addressed, and they needed to work on themselves, heal themselves, uh, before anything. But and they changed the relationship, the dynamics of the relationship. I think there's two situations there, and the one that you're describing, that's not a reason to cheat. That's a reason to have a deep discussion, and if it's not addressed, then either end the relationship or I'm not saying do what that person did, but there's something missing, truly
Right.
missing. They're not getting, truly not getting from the other partner. And there are some fundamental things in relationships, and that's one of them that should be there, especially
Right.
in marriage.
Right. But that goes back to the purpose of
Mm.
life is growth, and also the purpose of relationships. The purpose of relationships are to help us grow, to stimulate us to grow, and to support our partner, the other person, in their own growth. And I think just being conscious of, what are my goals from in my case, my marriage? What am I doing to help my marriage grow? Um, and and being really mindful about not taking it for granted, and not letting it just drift because we're in the routine. We've got the kids, we've got
Yep. Yep.
soccer, we've got ballet, we've got board meetings, we've got all of the stuff, and then we just get caught in the drift,
Sure.
and we shrivel. The relationship shrivels, and that's why I think we need to be mindful about what's my commitment to my primary relationship, my relationship with my spouse and my kids, my family. Um, what am I doing to help that grow? What am I doing to nourish that?
And
And
you can look at many different things in that relationship where, where what have we done where we've grown as a couple, but also isn't it true that the individuals need to see growth in themselves or they just, they don't fit anymore?
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
Um, and we sometimes hear people talk about growing apart, um, and I understand sometimes that happens. Um, but was there a way that we could have stayed together in our growth?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that, I
Um,
think there it is time for a counselor. There it's time to talk to somebody because you're not really sure how to do it. And I think you're not sure how to do it is because you're in it. You're so in you're the umbrella of the relationship is way on top of you and you're not really sure how to navigate forward, whether it's
right,
individually or as a couple.
right. And um, I think it was Albert Einstein said you can't think your way out of a problem you thought yourself into. You can't use the same thinking.
Right. And sometimes you only have one way of thinking.
Right. And
Hmm.
that I think that's the prime role of a coach, a therapist, a mentor is to see potential that I might not see because I'm too close to it, or
Yeah.
because of my history. There's some things in me that other people see. Talk about. I did a blog not long ago about. It's called "Always Take the Breath Mint." When somebody offers you a breath mint,
Hmm.
it may be that they're just being nice, but it may be that they know something about you that you don't know about yourself. And it,
Wow.
it's kind of funny how our mouth and our nose are like not even 2 inches apart, but we could be the only person in the room that doesn't know we have bad breath.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's trying to tell you something. Or maybe it's the universe. There could be I believe there's, the universe sends you sign signals, whatever it may be. I don't know how this whole thing works, but I believe it does. And it may be sending you a signal, throwing you a breath mint, but you're not picking up on it. Or
Right.
you saw something, a signal, and you're like, I don't need the breath mint. I don't need it.
Drove right through that stop sign.
Right, right. Yeah. Wow. Um, do you think that now we talked about, guys feeling stagnant, not moving forward in life in general? You think it's the same for men and women, or there's different degrees for both? How do you think that looks?
I think there are different degrees. I think that women have, with the movement, the women's movement, and since probably the 70s, um, I think women have been challenged and more opportunities have been opened up for women.
Sure.
And I think for guys, it has left a lot of us kind of not having a script for how to go forward. Um, my parents were, it was a very traditional marriage. My dad worked outside the house, and my mom was a homemaker, and that worked well for them. Um, and now very rare to find a couple without each of them having their own jobs. Um, and what's a guy supposed to do? Because I think a lot of us are still stuck in that old-fashioned model of, you know, well, here's a good example. As a couple, um, he decided to be a stay-at-home dad. So his wife had a better paying job. When the baby came, he said, okay, this makes more sense for you to keep working and I'll stay home and take care of the baby. So he did that, and he was good at it. But then when his wife came home, he was off duty. Now, now, now
Yeah.
the roles revert, and mom's here, so mom can take care of everything, and I'm off the hook, and I can go play and do whatever. Um, and so we as guys, I think a lot of us haven't figured out this new role, the role for the new script for the culture that we're living in.
And that's a classic. That really is. It seriously is. It's the handoff. It's the
Yeah,
handoff. And that's not to say that that's okay in some regards. When you get the handoff, then you're onto something else. Like, all right, well, you got the kids. I'm going to go take care of the lawn now, and other chores and responsibilities, because I believe that everybody has their role.
absolutely. But I think the important part again is, let's have a conversation about expectations instead of making assumptions.
Huge.
Um, and and I think all relationships are negotiated one way or another. But and I'm just a guy saying this, so we probably need a third party here to to dilute this
but
conversation.
but would that be another guy? That's a question.
No, it wouldn't. But I think that women have a clear sense of what their script is and what they're about. Um, and I think a lot of us men haven't quite figured it out. We're trying to fit in. We're trying to do the right thing. I mean, I think I might have mentioned growing up in the South and what it meant to be a gentleman. And we went through a period in our culture where if I held the door for a woman, she was offended because I was sending her the message, well, you're not capable of doing this for yourself. You're the weak feminine part here. And I was just being nice. I hold the door for guys too. But um,
Sure.
but but when we kind of get our hands slapped for doing the script that we know, then it's like, so we give up. And
I remember we had talked about that before, in those situations. Like, what do you do? Like, you're being authentic. I'm going to hold the door for anybody. I don't care who it is. And I believe that's the way it should be. And if somebody doesn't like it, if you're a woman and you feel that, somebody's taking away your power, I'm sorry, but this is who I am and I can't change it. Well, you said something before was very impactful. The expectations. It really is everything, even the expectations on yourself. I just talked to somebody who just started a new job and is just kind of all over the place because it's a very stressful training, and she's feels like she's a little in over her head. And I said, as long as the expectations are there, and even you're only a week in, talk about the expectations.
yes,
The expectations even of the training. You're a person too. It's not all them, the job. If it doesn't work out, find another one. You'll find another one. But she's even saying that the training is not, they're like, okay, this is the way you do it. And then they're on to something else. Whoa, wait a minute.
yes,
And I even said, where's the documentation of what they're teaching you? Did they make a video? There's nothing. How can you expect somebody to pick up on all this detailed stuff if it's not being presented in a way. And by the way, then she said, yeah, they actually told me that some people take these jobs and during the lunch break, they leave and they never come back. I'm like, well, what is that telling you?
Yeah.
Got to set the expectations for you and for them. Same thing with the relationship. Same thing on ourselves. Like you say, want to lose some pounds, drop some weight. What are your expectations? Are they reasonable? Or am I going to drop 10 pounds in a week? What kind of expectation is that? I think it really is everything in life.
It is. It is. And being realistic about expectations. And again, what I mentioned earlier, what I'm willing to tolerate.
Mm.
And am I willing to tolerate being in a work environment where the expectations seem unrealistic?
Yeah.
How long am I willing to do that to myself?
Exactly.
And again, be honest with ourselves about what I'm willing to do and kind of where the bottom line is for me. In any kind of relationship, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship, where's the bottom line here?
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody needs to be on the same page with those expectations. You can't have them in your head and think, well, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to do that. Well, the other party, whether it's the boss, the organization, your spouse, friend, they need to know what the expectations are. You both have to have the same view of it, or it's not going to work. I expect you to tell us how we reach you.
Okay, that's easy.
At this point, somebody wants to work with you, whether even, and I learned things. I didn't know that you worked with couples in that capacity. So that's fantastic. And again, it could be a couple, it could be a guy, anybody, a woman that's looking to change their life and is asking that question, what is life? How do we reach you? How do we work with you?
My website, www.drbaryfleet.com, DRBARYFLEET. Go to my website. There's a link there. My cell phone is there. You can give me a call. You can text me. You can email me. Reach out. Let's talk.
Yeah. And I appreciate that you even mentioned that it is your cell phone. You're reachable. You're accountable. And I detect that from you. If somebody's working with you and, a month in, I got a question, you're there. You want to talk. Yep. You want to help.
Yep. I am.
Yeah, Bary, it's always great talking with you. You have just such a fantastic view of life and situations. I don't know if I can say this. You make it easy. At least the way to view things, you make it easy. And I got to believe when you work with somebody, you do make it easy, in tailoring exactly what they need.
That's my goal. That's my goal.
Well, it's clear and it's your passion. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. You make it easy.
I try. You know what it is? I just I ask the questions I think people might be asking. That's it. Yeah. All right. We'll catch up soon. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.